Hey guys, this is Benny Ricciardi with rotocurve.com, and I'm here with our DraftKings NBA fades for Wednesday, January 13th. We have three guys on our list of fades, guys that we are not going to be playing today. So let's call up the slideshow and talk about why we want to be fading these guys. The three guys that are on our top fades list are Damian Lillard at 9,200, Thad Young at 7,200, and Will Barton at 6,200. Now, Lillard has a tough matchup in a slow-paced game against the Utah Jazz. It's not so much that the point guard matchup is tough against Utah. It's just the overall matchup and the overall number of points that team seems to put up against them. With Rudy Gobert back, the defense has already been showing improvements. They hold teams. They play at a slow pace. They hold teams to under 100 points every game. And for a guy like Lillard who relies on, actual points scored for much of his fantasy value, it's not really the best spot to be looking at him. He's been good since his return. I don't want to take anything away from him. He's back to playing 35 to 40 minutes. But that has also led to a price bump for him up to 9,200, which is the most expensive he's been in a while. At 9,200, he would need 46 points to hit 5x value and 55 points to hit 6x value. Now, he has put up 40, and he did have a 60-point game against Golden State, I think, a couple games back. So it's not that he doesn't have the ability to do it, but I see him more in like the 40 to 45 fantasy point range today. So it's not a horrible return, but it's also not going to be enough. It doesn't even get you up to that 5x, and it certainly isn't going to be the upside that gets you up to 6x or better. The next guy I want to talk about is Thad Young at 7,200. He's in a low total game against the Knicks at 193, and Brooklyn is a 5-point underdog in this game as well. I mean, Brooklyn is an absolute mess right now. They're averaging only 82 points over the last 5 games since the Jarrett Jack injury. The production for basically everybody on the team, with the possible exception of Brook Lopez, is kind of down. Young's production has been way down. He's averaging only 22 fantasy points in the last 4 games, which at 7,200 is basically 3x value and would absolutely kill you in cash games or tournament play if you spent that much on him and only got that kind of a return. In fact, in his last 8 games, there's only been 1 game where he scored over 4.5 times value. So basically, there's only been 1 game where he's been giving you GPP or cash game eligibility where you would be able to use him and not feel bad about it. And in the other 7 games, he's basically killed your chances of bringing back any money. So Thad Young at the moment is still way too expensive for the role that he has right now for the Brooklyn Nets. The last guy I want to talk about is Will Barton. Big underdog versus the Warriors in a game with a high total at 211. For me, he's still too expensive for his current role. People are going to point to the fact that 3 or 4 games ago, the first game that Danilo Gallinari came back, you got a big game out of Will Barton. I think it might have even went into overtime. He played big minutes in that game, wound up putting up some really good fantasy points. But since then, he's only averaging 25 minutes in the last 4 games after that first game that Gallo was back. Gary Harris is actually seeing as much court time, if not more, than Will Barton is at the moment, which I know it's shocking to a lot of us who have seen what Will Barton can do when given the minutes. But that's basically the way that, they have decided to play it over there in Denver. So I can't argue against what I see. What I see in the last 4 games is him playing 25 minutes or less, and that's just not going to be enough minutes to pay off his salary, even with the discount we're getting from where he was at his high. In those last 4 games, he has only managed to score 60 fantasy points, and that's 60 fantasy points total in the last 4 games for a 15 fantasy point per game average. Now, if you're paying 6,200 for a guy, 15 fantasy points is basically 2.5 times value, and that's definitely not going to be enough to get it done overall. So, again, Will Barton at 6,200 for his current role right now. I know that we all love him. I know he all won us some money over the course of the last month, but with Gallinari back, I think that's completely off the table. So that's going to sum it up for the guys that we're looking to fade here today for our DraftKings NBA slate. Thank you for joining us at rotocurve.com. And as always, stay classy, DFS.